With the BTC, our target is 210,000.
Excuse me? 210,000?
Yes, yes.
How high can Bitcoin's price go in 2025? Today I'll show you 7 expert predictions. Charles Hoskinson, Cathie Wood, Matthew Sigel, Jan Vaneck, Chamath Palihapatia, Michael Saylor, and Peter Chung. You tell me whose price prediction you think is most correct. Also, some of these experts have Ethereum and Solana predictions too.
And then for Ether, and then for Solana.
You need to get bullish on crypto. Just take a look at what is going on behind the scenes. 250 million stablecoin was just minted onto Solana. Billions are flowing into the Solana ecosystem right now. In fact, over the last 2 days alone, over 1 billion new stablecoin has made its way to Solana. At the same time, Deutsche Bank is one of the largest banks in the world with 1.5 trillion assets on their balance sheet. Deutsche Bank isn't just bullish on the asset appreciating. Deutsche Bank is actually integrating the tech into their bank. Deutsche Bank is adding in the latest Ethereum technology and actually creating their own Ethereum layer 2. There's a lot of reasons to be bullish on Ethereum in 2025. ETH ETF inflows, ETH staking increasing, L2UX getting better, the tech getting better in general, Ethereum dominating real world asset tokenization, not to mention BlackRock shilling it.
The reason for the call today, John, is something just came across my desk, John. It is perhaps the best thing I've seen in the last 6 months. If you have 60 seconds, I'd like to share the idea.
And of course, Bitcoin itself is so scarce, yet it's getting bought up by the boatload. Another publicly traded company called CleanSpark actually now holds over 10,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and there's just so many entities buying Bitcoin at this point. Breaking news, North Dakota becomes the 7th state to introduce a Bitcoin strategic reserve bill, joining New Hampshire, Alabama, Florida, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Ohio. Which U.S. state is next? In order from least bullish to most bullish, so actually the most conservative price prediction on this list, is Matthew Sigel, head of digital asset research at Vaneck. He predicts Bitcoin almost reaches $200,000 this cycle.
Joe, we think it's just getting started. As we expected, Bitcoin saw this high volatility pump after the election. We're now in blue sky territory, no technical resistance, and we think we're likely to make repeated all-time highs over the next 2 quarters. The same pattern played out 4 years ago. Between the election and the end of the year in 2020, Bitcoin doubled. There were about 10% corrections, so it's not going to be a straight line, but we're up 30% so far, and a number of indicators that we track are still flashing green for this rally to continue. This is a state change in terms of government support. Look at this cabinet: the VP, Attorney General, Director of Defense, National Security Advisor, possibly even the Secretary of Treasury being pro-Bitcoin. The number of calls that I'm getting inbound from investment advisors who are at 0 and looking to get to 1%, or at 1% and looking to get to 3%, these calls are starting to accelerate, and we think the flows are going to follow. So our price target for this cycle is 180K. We think we can reach that next year. That would be 1,000% return from the bottom to the peak this cycle. That's still the smallest Bitcoin cycle by far.
Now, the founder of Vaneck actually seems to be more bullish than Matt. He's predicting a $300,000 price for Bitcoin.
Happy Friday. I think Bitcoin's going to hit all-time highs. It hit them today, and I think it's going further, right? My basic premise is that ultimately Bitcoin's value will be half of that of all the gold outstanding. So you're talking about something like $300,000 for Bitcoin.
Founder of Ethereum, founder of Cardano, Charles Hoskinson. Despite his differences with Bitcoin in the past, he's actually ultra bullish, predicting a $250,000 to $500,000 price within the next 12 to 24 months, minus like a month.
As good as Ethereum can be, and Solana can be, and Cardano can be, let's be intellectually honest about this. Governments are talking about a strategic reserve of Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone. It's their entry point. And perhaps in 5 or 10 and 15 years, that dialogue and narrative will change. But it is my belief that Bitcoin is going to go to $250,000 to $500,000 within the next 12 to 24 months because of the investment inflows and the great interest that has been achieved. This will translate to an ecosystem whose value is starting to approach that of gold, an asset humans have used as a store of value for over 5,000 years. Simply put, Bitcoin is the store of value for the internet. and it will remain in that role for the foreseeable future now that it has a DeFi layer.
Cathie Wood is even more bullish with a bear case, a base case, and a bull case. You tell me which one you think is likely.
Our base case is in the $600,000 range. Our bull case, and we think the probability of the bull case has increased with this SEC approval. This is a green light. Our bull case is $1.5 million by 2030. You can see the building blocks. You can see how conservative we are in terms of those building blocks. This is a big idea. It is the first global, decentralized, digital, rules-based, critical there, rules-based monetary system in history. It is a very big idea.
Billionaire investor and co-host of the All In podcast, Chamath Palihapatia, he did a whole research report on this, and he's very bullish on the price of Bitcoin.
You start to see what could happen if you just take the average of the last few cycles, so because the first cycle was so extreme, and you start to...
so you're just doing cycle 2 and 3 here, to be clear.
Just the averages of cycle 2 and 3, and what you start to see is some really meaningful appreciation. And when I talked to Wences about this, how he explained it, which makes a lot of sense to me, is there are a lot of countries that will never look at Bitcoin credibly, even if they support it. The US may be one of those. But there's an increasing body of countries that will become dual currency. And they will look at their local currency, and then they will look at Bitcoin. And they will say both of these two things are needed. One, when you're transacting on a daily basis for random goods and services. And two, when you need to buy a permanent asset that needs to have residual value, you'll use something like BTC. And I think that's a very powerful concept. And if you look at what this price chart could indicate, is that if this thing starts to get to these levels of appreciation, it is going to completely replace gold and start to become something that has transactional utility for hard assets. And I think if you marry that with this worry that some folks have about dollar debasement, you start to see some really interesting opportunities.
And finally, the man, the myth, the legend himself, the ultra bull, Michael Saylor. We know he's bullish. Maybe you've heard his prediction before, but here he is predicting Bitcoin's market cap hits 180 trillion, and that would put Bitcoin at a price of...
It was a $90 billion asset class in March of 2000 when I was first looking at it. And then by August, it was about $180 billion asset class. And right now, 4 years later, it's $1.8 trillion asset class. And I think it's going to 18 trillion, then 180 trillion, then it's going to go beyond that. So I think it's a very simple thing. I think Bitcoin is going to grow from 0.1% of the money in the world to 7% of the money in the world over the next 21 years. And of course, you should just go long and keep buying it.
0.1% to, you said 7%?
Yeah, it'll go from like 1.8 trillion to $240 trillion, and it'll go up 29% a year ARR. That is my base case.
And I've heard you say that in 21 years it's going to be at $13 million.
That
per
takes
Bitcoin.
you to 13 million a coin.
13 million a coin.
13 million a coin.
At 29%.
Every Bitcoin you don't buy is going to cost you $13 million, my friend.
And finally, Peter Chung is the head of research at Presto Labs. Peter Chung is bullish on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, and has the price predictions to share with you.
We published our 2025 Outlook piece recently where we talk about some price targets for Bitcoin and a few other major cryptocurrencies. Yeah, so with the BTC, our target is 210,000.
Excuse me? 210,000?
Yes.
Whoa. Okay.
Well, it's not that crazy. I mean, it's about 100% increase from where we are, and Bitcoin has done crazier things in the past.
Yeah, that's true.
Solana is $1,000 target price, and then for Ether, we predict in terms of ETH to BTC ratio. So recovering back to 0.05 from current to 0.03 ratio.
So then the key question is how? Why?
We arrive at our target price using what's called MV-RV ratio. MV stands for market value. RV stands for the realized value. Realized value is a value of a Bitcoin blockchain based on the most recent on-chain transaction price. So it's sort of similar to price to book multiples in equity.
Okay.
And then we estimate the realized value for Bitcoin for next year and apply 3.5 times the multiples based on historical range. Yeah. And then for Solana, our benchmark is Ethereum network's peak valuation during the last bull cycle 3 years ago, which was around $500 billion in market cap, and that's about $1,000 in per Solana on a Solana basis. That's justified in our view because given the current level of institutional interest and then developer activity and also favorable supply outlook.
So you give me your price predictions for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana in the comments section below. Make sure you subscribe for daily content just like this. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. It takes me a couple hours to make a YouTube video, but it takes me a second to get information to you on Twitter. So make sure you follow us on Twitter/X. And I'll give you my cycle predictions for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. I think Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana go even further after this cycle, but in the context of 2025, maybe early 2026, my base case for Bitcoin is 150, and I actually think it's kind of likely Bitcoin gets to 180,000 this year. For Ethereum, I think Ethereum hits $11,000 this year. And Solana, I could see Solana hitting $1,200 this year. Hey, not financial advice, anything can happen, just my thoughts based on somebody who follows the market every day. Make sure you do your own research, make your own decisions, have a plan for multiple scenarios, and I'll see you tomorrow for more videos just like this.